Live from Banjul, this is GRTS News, broadcasting for viewers in the Gambia and around the world. We begin with the headlines. President Barrow continues the second phase of his Meet the People tour within the Greater Banjul area, discussing with the electorate on their immediate developmental needs. The 19th session of hearings of the Truth Commission has today continued, with more political victims appearing to give their testimony on alleged torture meted out on them by former agents of the state. The School of Medicine and Allied Health Sciences of the University of the Gambia convenes its 13th edition of swearing-in ceremony for 21 medical students. In sports, the Gambia Football Federation convenes its 2019 annual general meeting during the weekend, discussing their activity and financial reports with delegates. On the internationals, voters in Niger have casted their ballot this Sunday on a poll that could become the African nation's first peaceful transfer of power between two democratically elected presidents. Well, these and many other stories coming ahead in this edition of the news. Thank you for joining us. Welcome back to the news with me, Fatoumata Cham. We begin this edition of the bulletin with President Barrow's Meet the People's tour, where President Adama Barrow described the first leg of his tour as very successful. The Gambian leader was speaking at the State House in Banjul after his return from provincial Gambia, where he dialogued with Gambians on matters of national importance. As Mamadou Jallo reports, President Barrow's return was punctuated with a massive welcome by thousands of supporters from Kalaji Bridge in the West Coast region to the seat of presidency in Banjul.
After 3 weeks of meetings in the provinces, the President, His Excellency Adama Barrow, completed the first leg of his annual Meet the People tour. The tour provided the Gambian leader the platform to dialogue with the people on matters of national importance and also assess the impact of his government's policies and programs on the lives of ordinary Gambians. As the curtain drew on his last meeting in Kiangmanduar, attention shifted to the customary ceremony, where his supporters mobilized in a show of numbers to welcome the President into the West Coast region. This is in line with a long-established tradition that has come to define this annual exercise. President Barrow made a triumphant entry into the West Coast region, where he was received by the governor, regional officials, traditional leaders, thousands of supporters who mobbed his motorcade singing and chanting slogans. This was just a prelude to more drama ahead as people lined the route in all the settlements along the Trans-Gambia Highway to cheer the entourage as it slowly made its way to the Combos. These were the scenes in Brikama, the regional capital of the West Coast region, where excited supporters brought the presidential motorcade to a complete halt. Similar scenes were repeated all along the route in Farato, Busumbala and Lami before the President arrived in Abuku. Another symbolic handing over ceremony took place and the motorcade continued on its journey through the Mamadi Maniyang Highway, escorted by residents of the Kanifi municipality, who marched on foot to Westfield defying the odds. President Barrow savored every moment of the march, gesturing to the crowds to show appreciation and gratitude for their love and support. The President later arrived in Banjul, where members of the capital city gathered at I-22 to complete what had been a rigorous but colorful welcome ceremony. President Barrow would later described as unprecedented since he came to power.
It was a very, very, very successful tour because people came out in their numbers to welcome us with honor and dignity. But one thing was outstanding. People have started appreciating what we are doing. We have dialogue with the people. They told us part of their story and what they need, what they want us to do for them. It is noted by our technicians. Now we are back here. We sit down and look at what the Gambian people want. They gave us the responsibility. It is our duty to make sure we impact on their life. We work for them and make a difference.
He also described the tour as very successful, as it has given him valuable feedback that has reassured him that he was on the right track as far as his obligations to Gambians was concerned.
Coming home today, I think this is one of my biggest welcoming since I came to power. People welcome me in large numbers, and definitely I think I appreciate that. It has touched my heart that Gambians are appreciating what we are doing. I think that's the most important thing.
The tour is expected to continue on Monday after the Christmas break. Mamadou Diallo, GRTS News.
Now, the second phase of the President Barrow's Meet the People tour has today entered its second phase with meetings in Sintet in Fonyi Jarol and Bambara in Fonyi Bondali constituencies. And our correspondents will bring you the latest details in our subsequent newscast as the presidential entourage now enters the West Coast region there. Now, sittings of the Truth Commission has today continued with more political victims appearing to give their testimonies on alleged torture meted out on them by former agents of the state. As Senabu Jani reports, Modungom, a supporter of the United Democratic Party, was the first victim that appeared on the first day of the 19th session of hearings. We have more in this report.
The witness, Modungom, testified on his activities as a UDP supporter, his arrest and torture by the NIA, and the numerous interruptions by the police during their meetings. As the youth coordinator at the time, the witness explained that life wasn't easy as a UDP supporter during the Jammeh days, adding that any former criticism of the former government could lead one in serious trouble, either being arrested, disappearing, or death. Lead counsel asked the witness to explain how the April 2016 protests unfolded.
So when I got to the tipper garage, I called Solo Sandeng. He told me it is at the Manjai Bureau, let's go there. I was standing there, and then Njai and her high-powered delegation arrived. Not long after, Solo Sandeng and his high-powered delegation also arrived. At that time, we had one of our men in Sanyang, Padabo.
Decided to demolish his restaurant. He also came and joined us.
He said to me that I am going to the Brikama. I said to him, for us, we are in Serekunda right now, in Tiba Garage, in front of the police station. So we went to the Manja Bureau, we went upstairs, we were sitting there. Solo Sandeng brought out the banners. Today, Sise. There is a protocol at the office of the president today. So when Solo brought them out, so many of our people were not literate. So I read the inscriptions on the banners to them.
We need proper electoral reforms dialogue with IEC.
The witness shared that he was tortured 3 times by the NIA, and one of his beatings was so bad that he often loses focus. During the April 2016 march, witness Ngom said people thought they were out of their minds to try and stand against the former regime by going out in public. The witness told the commission that they went ahead with their planned activity, but were later intercepted by the personnel of the PIU, and about 26 of them were arrested.
The SO of Sekunda station came there. I'm from the same village with him. He said that he was going to take Solo away, our team leader, and I told him that he was not moving an inch. I said that with Lamin Koma and the few UDP supporters that were there, because at that time, many people had run away after they saw the police. So could not do anything. He couldn't take Solo away. So we said to him, you will have to arrest all of us and take us away. I come from the same village. Yes. He told me, leave this place. I said to him, don't talk to me. I was standing at that place.
Did you push him?
Commissioner Sane returned back. I told him, get out of this place. Commissioner Sane went and stood by Jacaranda and he was looking at us and trying to get what we were saying. Yankuba Koli came, he looked at us. He was not brave enough to come close to where we were. He returned. Not long after, we saw paramilitary officers.
I was beaten so much that I fainted, said the witness, as he told the commission how badly he was treated, the beatings and the electrocutions he endured as a victim of the NIA.
So when she saw city wall tableau,
they tied me to chest and tied me against the table. They tied my knees too.
I was made to lie on my stomach.
They blew on the whistle. They beat me until they were tired and they sat down and rested. My eyes were tired.
Was it the plastic you still had over your head?
Yes, it was still over my head. They beat me until I fainted.
Do you know what they were using to beat you?
They had battens and the rubber from the vehicle tires. Yes, because my soles were electrocuted.
And my genitals were also soaked with electric cable.
The witness, who said he still suffers health complications to ease the effects of electrocution at the NIA, told the commission in his concluding remarks for the government to build new prisons because Mile 2 is 100 years old and said should be abandoned. Saina Bujang for GRTS News.
Now, 40 young aspiring entrepreneurs are currently undergoing a 5-day training in small-scale businesses after years of training in various other skills. The project, which is funded by the Gambia government through the National Enterprise Development Initiative (NEDI), is aimed at empowering young people in small-scale business management as part of efforts to create employment opportunities for the Gambian youth. GRTS's Baba Silla picks up the rest of that story.
The training is part of NEDI's commitment to empower Gambian youths and women through the provision of training in entrepreneurship and investment, and also to give grants and loans to operate businesses. The 5-day training will also expose the participants to business opportunities and how to effectively manage their businesses at the end of the training. Welcoming the participant, the Executive Director of PIA began his statement with an inspirational message and challenged the participant to utilize the opportunity in order to become successful entrepreneurs in the future.
We have prepared you for 2 good years. We have prepared some of you for 1 year. You are all ready. So NEDI is the one that is preparing you ready for market. Now we are going out to a very volatile environment. You'll be competing with so many other young people who have also graduated from other training TVET institutions. So our sister agency, NEDI, is here to support you and us for you to be able to present yourself in the market, in this environment, to the audience. And the audience are your customers, they are your clientele. How do you make yourself ready for them? How are you able to deliver quality output, quality products to them? How are you able to organize your business? How are you able to plan yourself? How are you able to keep your records? How are you able to attract the attention of these people?
Deputizing for the General Manager of NEDI, Musa said he called on the participants to stay focused, saying the government has created a lot of opportunity for the young people in order to become productive members in national development.
This is an opportunity. This certificate, some will want to ask themselves why the need for a training certificate. Because this is what will help both the government and the donors, the NGOs, the other partners, that if you are given either grants or loans, you'll be able to manage them very well. I will also want to take this opportunity to let the youth of this country know that there are a lot of opportunities which have been created by the government of the Gambia.
Other speakers include Mustafa Baji, the Deputy Director of NYSS, Abdullah Bojan and Musa Mbai, the Director of Planning and Program at the Ministry of Youth and Sport. For GRTS News, I am Baba Silla.
And the Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat has concluded its 36th national convergence to promote the faith of the Ahmadiyya. As Aminata Sanyang reports, the youth conference brought together leaders of the Jamaat and believers from all walks of life to share a fulfilling spiritual atmosphere in a troubling world of uncertainties. Details in this report.
It is the closing of the 36th National Annual Youth Conference of the Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat. The Amir of the Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat, Baba F. Tarawale, said the Majlis Quddamul Ahmadiyya has a great role to play in the socio-economic development of the Gambia, whilst calling on the youth to strive for excellence in their academic fields.
As youths, you should always be good citizens and always be law-abiding, and should be at all times good ambassadors of this country, the Gambia.
He went further to delve into the significance of peace and advised the Ahmadiyya youth to instill peace and love for each other.
Your attitude should be that of brotherhood, peace, and love for each other, and that is what you should strive to instill deeper in yourselves and others, and that should be the way you live your everyday life.
The president of the Ahmadiyya Youth Association, Aliu Tarawale, spoke of the responsibility of the Ahmadiyyan youths.
Unlike other youths of the world, the youths of Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat are very fortunate to be directly under the guidance of a rightly guided leadership in the form of Khilafah. The Khilafah that was prophesied by the Holy Prophet Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam more than 1,400 years ago. The greatest prophet of all times, whose life and death were all for the sake of Allah Almighty, and at all levels, his soul was melting for the good of Allah's creatures. So much so that Allah Almighty himself conferred upon him the title of Rahmatul Lil Alameen, that is, mercy for all people.
The closing also witnessed Quranic recitations and other activities to mark the end of this year's annual National Ijtima of Majlis Quddamul Ahmadiyya. Aminata Isanyang, GRTS.
Well, let's now shift our attention to health matters, where the University of the Gambia has today convened its 13th edition of swearing-in ceremony, with 21 medical students taking the oath at a local hotel in Kololi. And as Sheikh Juf reports, the ceremony marks the formal assumption of duty by the graduates from the School of Medicine and Allied Health Sciences. We have more in this report.
I will not use my medical knowledge to violate human rights, and civil rights, even under threat.
This is the 13th edition of the swearing ceremony at the School of Medicine and Allied Health Sciences. Every year, the school organizes this ceremony for new graduate doctors who take the sacred oath of Socrates after successful completion of their training at the University of the Gambia. This swearing-in ceremony presents a solemn but joyous occasion for medical graduates to be formally taken through the professional oath and become properly inducted into the medical profession as qualified medical doctors by the Gambia Medical and Dental Council.
Today, UTG is adding 21 doctors to the pool of doctors in this country. As usual, these are another crop of highly trained young men and women, comprising 6 females and 15 males. Hopefully, they will all stay. Stay and work to support healthcare delivery in the Gambia during these trying and difficult times. I sincerely hope that they will all promise to work in the Gambia at least for some years.
Communicate with your patients. Your patient will look up to you for guidance concerning what they should and should not worry about. And be always ready to give the factual advice in a tactful way. To sum up, the advice is to be human and deal with your patients as human beings, not a particular disease entity.
Honorable Fatou Kinte congratulated the young men and women for toiling hard to make a mark today.
It is indeed a pride to be a medical student and an even bigger one to complete successfully and be called a doctor. As you line up today to receive your certificates, 7 years for most of you is now like yesterday when you enrolled in pre-med. Yes, I agree, it was not easy, but through hard work and perseverance, you have made it.
Medical graduate Fanta Fofana expressed the immense joy she felt after receiving her certificate.
It's been a very long journey. At first it was supposed to be a 7-year journey, and then it ended up being 8.5 years. It was accompanied with a lot of crying, a lot of stress, a lot of hard work and determination. But alhamdulillah, today hard work has paid off. My colleagues and I are very happy to be in this position today, and we hope that we can serve our country to the best of our abilities, inshallah.
This batch of 21 doctors adds more than 260 new medical practitioners to the healthcare industry. Sergio, GRTS News.
Now, still on health matters, we examine the challenges posed by cervical and breast cancer in the Gambia, which still remains the two most common cancers amongst women in the country. The disease has so far claimed the lives of scores of young women in the country, with many still lagging behind to be screened, treated and cared for. Mama J has details in this exclusive piece.
Cancer is becoming a growing concern in the Gambia, and cervical cancer has been in the spotlight in the country in recent years. But why is it so special? A question I put to Dr. Lamin Jaite, a consultant and general surgeon at the Edward Francis Small Teaching Hospital.
This is a cancer that if we put in efforts to detect it on time, we can actually save a lot of women from getting cancer and eventually dying from that particular cancer.
Cancer is said to spread through the body when it loses control of its own. But what are the causes of cancer? Dr. Abdullah Keita is an obstetrician, gynecologist, and lecturer at the University of the Gambia.
There are certain things we call them cofactors or risk factors that predispose some women more to developing cancer of cervix than to the others. And among those risk factors is tobacco in any of its form, including cigarette smoking. People who sneak tobacco, people who take tobacco in any form is a recognized risk factor for a long time for cancer of cervix. The others is if you have other infections in your genital tract, they can predispose you to cancer of cervix like gonorrhea, syphilis. They can all predispose you to cancer of cervix. If your immunity, that is the body's defense, is reduced, like if you have HIV, you have diabetes, they can predispose you to cancer of cervix. If you start sexual activities too early in your life, it can predispose you to cancer of cervix. If you have too many sexual partners, it can predispose you to cancer of cervix.
According to health officials, cervical cancer is the second leading cause of death among women in the Gambia. The disease kills women in their prime or youthful age.
Most patients diagnosed with breast cancer early enough about 9 out of 10 of them would still be alive at 5 years. About 8 out of 10 of them would still be alive at 10 years. So it goes against the thinking that if somebody has cancer, it's a death sentence. No. The most important thing is being able to detect the cancer on time and then making sure you get the right treatment.
Statistics show that 53,000 women in Africa die of cervical cancer every year, an average 154 women per hour. According to WHO 2014 report, cervical cancer death in the Gambia was at 54 or 0.40%. But the good news is that cervical cancer is highly treatable, with a cure rate of over 90% if detected early, according to cancer experts. However, health officials observe that many cancer patients in the Gambia seek medical attention often too late, when the disease must have reached an advanced stage.
Cervical cancer, if detected early, can be managed, and the treatment is simple and easy with very little complications. So every woman who is above the age of 30, who is actively married, can walk to the screening center and get screened. Edward Francis Small Teaching Hospital, Banjul, SOS, Bafro, Afrimed, Brikama, Yundum, Esau, Basse, all have screening centers.
In 2019, the government of the Gambia rolled out a massive immunization campaign of young girls across the country to protect them from cervical cancer. One organization that is complementing that effort is the Cancer League Association, the Gambia, a group of organizations that is dedicated to raise awareness on cancer. Aji Dafe is the chairperson of the association.
We did a fundraising, and yes, we needed about $15 million. Unfortunately, we were only able to raise $1.2 million. The fundraising event that we did, after all the proceeds were actually accounted for, we raised about 1.2 million from one night. The Minister of Health of the Gambia, we're here to work with you. We're here to support, to complement your efforts.
The organization makes best use of Pink October, a month-long campaign dedicated globally to raise awareness on cancer. Mama J, GRTS.
Now, the Sukuta Youth Development Committee, together with the Village Development Committee, has convened a youth forum at the community's lower basic school. And as Fatu Deba reports, the forum discussed challenges confronting the youth and as well means of solving associated community problems.
The forum availed Youths and Village Development Committee an opportunity to have a face-to-face dialogue to discuss a wide range of issues affecting the youths of Sukuta. Issues of unemployment, mental health, and drug abuse as major challenges forms the center of discussion.
Now we're able to register the youth committee. We're able to work with the VDC to make sure that we are not lacked or we are not left behind when it comes to decision makings or to take part in the development of the community. So today we're here to bring the youth together so that we can know the problems that they are facing, for us to have a solution for the problems that the youth are facing.
Addressing the gathering, the chairman VDC, Babukar Cham, described drug abuse as an impediment to the growth of young people. He encouraged them to desist from the harmful practice and venture into skills in addressing issues of unemployment.
Just want to advise young people, stick on to something that you know is going to be productive. Let's learn some more skills. Let's not always think about the fact that actually we have to go through the back way to get to Europe. I think these are things that are affecting us. I mean, you are all talented, intelligent, you can do a lot of things on your own.
Mental health problems are global, but in a Gambian context, they present very, very challenging situations. For example, drug and alcohol misuse amongst young people in the Gambia is increasing. If you went to the one and only hospital in the Gambia, mental health hospital in the Gambia, which is Tanka, you're bound to come across many young people enduring what is called drug-induced psychosis. It's a kind of psychosis as a result of taking drugs. You became mentally unwell. So there's a lot of those cases in the Gambia.
Various speakers took turns to encourage youths of Sukuta to take up responsibilities in development initiatives in the community and their personal growth for economic independence. Fatu Deba for GRTS News.
And still on community development, the Network for Development of Kuloro and Tungina, a community-based non-profit organization, over the weekend staged its maiden cultural festival at Kuloro Village in the Combo East district of the West Coast region. Well, the initiative, as Janketu reports, is meant to educate young people of the two communities of their cultures and reflect on the life of Kadikebe.
The cultural event, among other things, reflects on the history of the late legendary Kadikebe. The maiden edition of the cultural festival, organized by the Network for Development of Kuloro and Tunjina, a community-based organization, aims to strengthen existing unity within the two communities of Kuloro and Tunjina in the West Coast region. Among the organizers is Farmer Barry, chairperson of the organization, underscored the importance to educate people on the true life of Kadikebe.
We have been hearing about the story of Kadikebe, but we want to reveal
the real story of Kadikebe, because what has been said before was not the real story. So we came as a team gathered today here to reveal the importance of Kadikebe's story.
The Alcalo of Tunjina, Khadijatu Toure, highlighted the significance of the program while revealing the historical background of the two communities. According to her, Cloro was established by the settlers of Tunjina, who were first settlers to migrate from Faraba in Combo East. She further urged young people to emulate their cultural values. The theme, revealing the true story of Kadikebe, was narrated by Boto Baji, an elder in the community, recalling the history of the late Kadikebe, daughter of Ibrahim Kebe, was born in Bondo village and married to Wandambu Sane of Tunjina. Many believe that Kadikebe was poisoned at a program during her youthful days, leading to her demise. This narrative by many Giret, according to Baji, is untrue and false, saying it's meant to misinform people on the true life of Kadikebe. Baji went on to add that Kadikebe was one of the most beautiful and famous at the time, and met her untimely death during childbirth. She has 5 siblings, of which Jenaba Kebe, fondly called Mba, is the only surviving one in Bondo village. Other speakers include VDC Chairman Omar Ba, Chief of Combo East Bakari Sanyang, Combo East National Assembly Member Lamin K.M. Konta and Sadibu Jame, respectively, dilated on the significance of the occasion. For them, it is important for the youth of the two communities to know the history, culture, and ways of life of their late legends. The chairman of Brikama Area Council, Srifo Sonko, spoke at length on the significance of the program, urging youth to unite for the progress of the two communities.
What we are calling for, people are going to try to practice it. Number one, to try to embrace peace, of that we are having in the Gambia here. The Gambia is a very peaceful country, and thank God, alhamdulillah, that we have a very peaceful president. That is His Excellency President Adama Barrow, who is a peace advocate. I think that is what Kulor and Tunjina are also calling for.
The day also witnessed different cultural activities by different ethnic groups depicting cultural norms, and a visit to the late Kadikebe's graveyard at a place called Tumbungoto, where she was laid to rest. The cultural festival is part of initiatives to safeguard the long-standing peaceful and cordial relationship existing between the two communities. Now that the true story of a legendary Kadikebe has been revealed, it is expected that through this program, historians will be able to narrate the true story of the late Kadikebe for the younger generation. The organizers assure that the cultural festival will now be an annual event. For the news, I am Jenke Tour.
People of Nyanija district in the Central River region have successfully staged the second edition of their cultural festival over the weekend. The festival is meant to promote unity and culture. Our correspondent in the Central River region is Modulamin Sane, and he now reports.
A unique celebration of time and history, putting culture on the spotlight in the Central River district of Nyanija, an important social element that particularly comes to life during the area's annual cultural festival. Eventful festivities mark what has always been Nyanija's biggest exposition of culture, community and solidarity. The second edition of Nyanija District Cultural Festival comes at the climax of a difficult year, but organizers were determined to make a resounding success. The event brought together hundreds of people from across 33 communities in the district with a view to promoting unity and culture, and additionally harness the area's potential for development through education and agriculture.
We are interested in promoting a culture of peace among the people of Nyanija, because in Nyanija we have Fulas, we have Mandinkas, we have Wolofs. We also have a minute percentage of Sereres. But we do not want to see any differences or distinction when it comes to these different ethnic groups within Nyanija. Our intention or our agenda is to see that everyone who is from Nyanija is united with a common force towards contributing towards the development of the district. And then equally, as a district association, we have in our agenda to make sure that we at least uplift the welfare of our citizens or the welfare of our people in Nyanija.
The significance attached to staging such an event clearly surfaced in the colorful opening ceremony graced by scores of dignitaries and community elders who took turn to address young people. This is very significant and exciting because it has brought people across Nyanija to one platform, something that has never happened, and they have displayed real culture and tradition. So I encourage all the young people here and the elderly to be united for a common goal, that is the development of the area. The event can surely foster unity among people in Nyanija because all of us here are interacting. I also want to inform you that taking care of the environment as captured on the theme of the program is very important because that will make the people healthy. Nyanija's rich traditions came to light in a rousing performance by the area's different cultural groups.
So we just see that one day we said that all of us we are staying here. So let us try. All of us we are full and from Nyanija. We should try and make it one group and make peace so that we can bring peace at Nyanija. So we try to make the group and call it Fede Bankare. Are you happy today? Of course, I'm very happy, more than happy, because I came to my district and performed. My people was happy, so I want to just make my people to be happy. So I'm very happy today.
The exciting display provided a real taste of culture, showcasing a spectacular exhibition, reviving century-old traditions.
I feel more than the word happy to be part of the cultural of Nyanija, the people of Nyanija outside and inside the Gambia. All of them are stakeholders to make sure that the program is well organized and is, succeeded.
Festivals like this one gives communities and people here the chance to unite and strengthen closely knit ties that have shaped their societies from inception. Modulamin Sane reporting for GRTS News from the Central River region.
Well, we're staying with cultural preservations because scores of participants have converged in the provincial town of Basse for the 8th edition of the Fulbe Africa Cultural Festival. The annual event, which seeks to revive and preserve the rich Fulani culture as well as promoting regional integration, was attended by people from across the sub-region. Our URR correspondent Seydou Kamara covered the two-day event and files in this report.
This is the 8th edition of the International Fulbe Africa Cultural Festival, and for the first time, provincial town of Basse hosted the event. A glamorous night showcasing the rich Fulani culture, which attracted celebrants from all over the Gambia and the sub-region, including Ghana, Niger, Sierra Leone, Nigeria, and Senegal. The annual event seeks to revive and promote the rich Fulani culture among the younger generation, as well as promoting peace and unity through cultural diversity. The theme for this year's celebration is Daroden Danden Plago, meaning let's strive and safeguard Plago, with the slogan Pulla Fofko Pulla. The night-long festival witnessed a variety of performances depicting with Fulani culture and traditions. Scores of celebrants dressed in cultural attire were entertained with music and dance by renowned Fulani artists from the Gambia and Senegal, alongside other activities.
Africa One decentralization. It was our plan 8 years ago, since we formed this association, to decentralize it, to go to where Fulas are, where the roots are. So Basse being the case here, the only place called Fuladu in all over the world, Fuladu, is here in this region. So we deem it fit to come home to showcase our culture so that other people will take pride of their culture. Because as Fulbe Africa, we are promoting cultural heritage, we are promoting our culture, we are showcasing our culture, we are also dealing with other tribes, we are dealing with other tribesmen so that they can also be proud of their culture. We saw Europeans coming here and learning our culture, taking it out, showing it in movies. So we want that for us to do that. Our elders have done their bit. They have taught us, they have took us to school, they have shown us our culture, but it is dying. The reason why it is dying because it's not written.
After the colorful cultural night, the participants converged the second day for the conference where Bambe Balde, who was the invited guest speaker from Kolda in Senegal, gave a lengthy lecture on the importance of preserving the Fulani culture. The governor of URL Sambaba commended Fulbe Africa for the important initiative, whilst reminding the participants of the need to embrace and preserve their culture.
Yidde hoore mum non takani ha ganda leñol gongol Gambia ko enen ji Gambia ko enen fof mari do he Gambia ko leƴƴi boni he Gambia kono yidde pullo yidde furayagu takani ha ganda leñol gongol.
Participants described the 8 editions as very educative whilst commending the organizers for staging the events in Basse. The International Fulbe Africa Cultural Festival continues to grow bigger with its core objective of promoting peace and unity, as well as promoting regional integration. Seydou Kamara reporting for GRTS News from Basse, Upper River Region.
Well, let's now take our first break. The sports news will follow right after. Welcome back. The Gambia Football Federation held its annual general meeting during the weekend to discuss with delegates their activity and financial statements for the year 2019. Famara Baji witnessed that convergence at the National Technical Training Center in Unum and has details in this report.
The Gambia Football Federation fulfills another constitutional requirement as it presents team delegates with the 2020 activity report during the body's annual general meeting. A quick scrutiny of the document, and delegates unanimously adopted the GFF activity report. The August body reflected on current achievements made in local football management, laying new plans ahead for 2021.
Earlier this year, signed a memorandum of agreement or understanding with the Saudi Football Federation. Both agreements are aimed at formalizing the bilateral relationship between Gambia Football Federation and the two federations concerned. Key amongst the two agreements are cooperations in coaching, refereeing, and administration, women's and youth football development, infrastructure development, test matches and training camps for the Gambia senior national team and other categories of the national teams, club licensing, professionalization of the domestic league, and SCing visit.
A proposed increment in the league prices for male and female Division 1 and 2 has been put on the table, with winners' prize set to move from $300,000 to $750,000 for the First Division Male League and $300,000 to $700,000 in the female First Division. Division 2 prices will also move from $100,000 to $350,000 for the winners. At the end of the day activity, team delegates shared their thoughts on the AGM.
When I looked at the financial issues that the GFF presented, they've done a lot of good work in other areas, but there are still some areas whereby significant improvement needs to be put in, whereby the control mechanisms needs to be looked at, and that's my take, and this is why I pointed out those areas for them to look at it, because this is for the development of football. Finance is something that is very critical.
If you look at their financial statement, especially the financial position, which is the balance sheet, that is
Well, that was all we had time for in this edition of the news at 10 p.m. But before we go, a quick look at our main stories this hour. President Adama Barrow has today continued the second phase of his Meet the People tour within the Greater Banjul area. The 19th session of hearings of the Truth Commission has today continued, with more political victims appearing to give their testimony on alleged torture meted out on them by former agents of the state. The School of Medicine and Allied Health Sciences of the University of the Gambia has today convened its 13th edition of swearing-in ceremony for 21 medical students. In sports, the Gambia Football Federation convenes its 2019 annual general meeting during the weekend, discussing their activity and financial reports with delegates. On the internationals, voters in Niger have casted their ballots this Sunday on a poll that could become the African nation's first peaceful transfer of power between two democratically elected presidents. Well, that was all in this edition of the news at 2200 hours. From me, Fatoumata Cham, and the entire news team, we thank you for watching and enjoy the rest of our very interesting programs.
Good evening, viewers. This is the weather report from the Central Forecast Office, and I am Musa Balde. First, we begin with the summary. Past 24 hours was characterized by cool and stable atmosphere during the morning, while warm and sunny with slightly hazy conditions over some places. The weather tonight will be mostly cool and occasionally breezy across the entire country. Tomorrow, it will be cool with strong occasionally breezy winds during the morning, becoming warm and sunny with hazy conditions, reducing visibility over some places. Winds will be mainly northerly in direction, becoming northeasterly from tomorrow afternoon onwards, with speed ranging from 5 to 20 kilometers per hour. Minimum temperatures are expected to be 17 degrees Celsius over the Greater Banjul area and Lower River region, 18 degrees Celsius over West Coast region, while at 16 degrees Celsius over North Bank, Central and Upper River region respectively. Maximum temperatures will be 35 degrees Celsius over the Greater Banjul area, 36 over West Coast region. The rest of the country will record 37 degrees Celsius. Over to the marine forecast, low tide will be 0.4 meters at 3 a.m. and 0.3 meters at 3 p.m., while high tide is expected to be 1.5 meters at 9 a.m., 1.7 meters at 10 p.m. Waves will be 0 to 1 meters high with northwesterly swells. The sun is expected to rise at 28 minutes past the hour 7 in the morning and will set at 18:45. That's all we have for you for the forecast. Thanks for watching and have a good night.